Four changes. We see Archie and Ben for the first time in a while.
Yeah, they've just played so well in the NEAFL. They've deserved their opportunity, and the opportunities have come up this week, and I'm sure they're keen to take them.
Oscar, how's he? Where's he at?
Oh no, he's had a pretty long campaign, and we thought Archie's playing so well, it was a good opportunity to give Oscar a rest.
You don't traditionally make a lot of changes, so for this week, was it how difficult was that to make 4 changes to a team that had been playing pretty well?
Yeah, there's an element of the big trip to Perth and having some fresh players come into the team, and you just can't keep ignoring form. And we just thought some of the guys were a little bit out of form last week, and some other lads were going pretty well. So let's give them their opportunity.
Walker, he's gone out a couple of weeks ago, come back in for a couple. Is that a match-up thing or form thing or combo?
Combination of things, probably. I don't really want to discuss every selection decision that we make with you guys. They're sort of in-house. The main thing is our players know why they're in and out of the side, and we'll leave it at that.
Coach, on the weekend, I think every quarter you gave away a shot on goal in red time, like really close to the, and it happened against the Bull. It's happening a bit. Adelaide Bulldogs. Is it a problem for you in red time? These scoring opportunities you're conceding?
No, I don't think we're the worst in the competition.
No, you're not. I looked it up. I was surprised.
Yeah, no. So it's not a concern. It just rolls that way. You prefer not to concede goals late, and we certainly talk about it as an area that we want to continue to improve on. But that did happen last week. I agree.
On that 2 weeks in a row, teams come home in a flurry against you. Started the season a bit slow and finished strong. Now it's gone the other way around. Has that been spoken about through the week, just finishing up the game well?
Yeah, I mean, we've been involved in a lot of games this year where the scores have been close in the last quarter. It seems like we chase better than we do when we've actually got a lead. So that's been a topic of conversation the last couple of weeks. That's all part of learning. You understand with our team where we've come from. We haven't been in front in those sorts of games for a long, long time, so you've got to learn how to play them. So, those opportunities that we've had the last 2 weeks have been tremendous learning opportunities for us. Fortunately, we won one game and we lost the other, but great learnings will come from it that will help us into the future.
What have you learned?
Again, we keep all our learnings in-house. We don't share them with the whole world. So I'd like to be able to answer your question, but they're sort of in-house types of things that, hopefully what you'll see is our team do better in those situations when we find ourselves there again.
Is it the last 10 minutes though, or is it what happens before that?
No, well, you look at a whole game, and that's what we looked at last week when we reviewed the Fremantle game. It wasn't just the last 10 minutes. There were lots of times during the game where we conceded goals that we shouldn't have conceded, or we didn't take chances that we should have taken. So what you hope is you play well enough that games don't come down to that. But when they do come down to that situation, then it's how you handle it mentally, staying in the moment, doing what you're supposed to do when certain situations arrive. And that's a learning for all teams. I saw the Hawks go through that in 2011, 2012, losing finals and looking closely at what happened in those games. And generally speaking, it's the toughest thing to do is to do what you always do. Sometimes you think you've got to do something extraordinary, and that's not the case. And last week we learned some little lessons in that.
Was it by design, or was it just difficult to get a rotation happening? Because Luke Hodge is your on-field coach, and he was on the bench in those frantic final minutes.
Yeah. When there's only one goal scored for the quarter and there's one centre bounce, it's extremely hard to get players off the field because the play was continuous. It was difficult. It wasn't something we wanted to happen, but a little bit powerless to stop it.
Yeah, we've talked in the past how getting messages out is also difficult. Are you devising a way that you can do it when there isn't goals, like through interchanges and a chain of messages or something?
We've been doing that all year, but you have to understand when players run out onto the oval, then they get involved in the play, and sometimes it's difficult to deliver those messages to the people that they need to do so. It sounds simple, but it's actually much harder to do in reality. So you've got your boards that you hold up numbers and things like that, and various signs and symbols. All clubs are exploring, but that's where it's at the moment. It's challenging.
Does it take up a lot of your time? Because that was frustrating. That was 18 minutes, and it's like you're as much a bystander as us when you can't get them out there.
But when you say it takes up a lot of our time, what do you mean?
Does it planning your communication and
Oh well, we've been working on that all pre-season, as
Yeah.
have all clubs, and we keep trying to refine it and get better ways. It's really word of mouth or symbols is all you've got at your disposal.
Yeah.
The other thing you've got at your disposal is continuous education of your players so that they can get better to make decisions themselves in those situations. But that's easier said than done.
Set shots sort of hurt you a bit deepness in recent times. Left a lot of points out on the field. How do you address that?
Oh, well, we do the same practice every week, and sometimes we kick accurately and sometimes we don't. Just lately it's been a bit off, but we're really diligent with that in our training. We spend a lot of time on and over the pre-season. From time to time we have a fellow by the name of Dave Alred come down and do some specialist coaching, but he's not always available because he spends time overseas with Francesco Molinari, who he sort of tutors in golf. So we use Dave when he's available and practice all the time. So it's like a lot of other things. You're always chipping away, trying to get better.
With the four changes, so you're looking for a response?
Response in what way?
It's from the efforts or the...
Well, the effort last week was really good, so I wasn't too upset about that. Just looking for them to bring their energy and add a little bit to the team.
2 from 2 against the Hawks last season. Do you build off that energy or tell the players to block that out?
Well, it's a completely different situation. That was last year, it's now this year. If you look at both teams, the last time we played, I think it was around 17 or around 18 down in Tassie. If you look at their team now and our team now, there's about 7 or 8 different players in each team. So it's a little bit hard to get a read on us versus them, and all we know is that it's irrelevant and we all got to start again tomorrow and it'll be a red hot game because there's a fair bit at stake for both of us.
What about their form? They've sort of been Jekyll and Hyde this year, haven't they?
You've got to plan for their very, very best form, and they've beaten some good teams. You know, they beat GWS not so long ago. They're a really good team. Very competitive against Richmond, beat Port last week, so beat Adelaide in Adelaide. So they're a very, very capable side, and we have enormous respect for them, and we'll need to be at our best tomorrow night.
You mentioned a lot being at stake. Other than 4 points, what's at stake for your footy team?
Well, just the ability to keep building and maintaining our confidence, coming up and playing against a team that's been perennial finalists, and the confidence that you can get from that if you get a victory. So all of those little things, but whatever happens tomorrow night, it won't be the beginning and the end of things. It's just all part of our development, and it's great that we're playing in these sorts of games where people are really talking about the importance of them, and I think there's going to be a good crowd here tomorrow night. And memberships jumped up to 27,000 this week, so there's a lot of interest in our footy team at the moment, and we've just got to continue to perform and for our members and supporters.
Chris Clarker seems to be able to adapt his game plan to who he's playing. Does that make it more difficult to plan for Hawthorn? Or, I mean, you know him probably as well as anyone.
I think most teams go and play their way, and you have contingencies in place if the other team happens to be getting on top. If you spend all your week worrying about what the opposition are going to do, I reckon you'll lose your capacity to hunt the ball. You become confused. So we want our guys going in with clear minds and lots of energy. So we've kept it pretty simple this week.
It's almost an 8-point game, isn't it? Considering where you're sort of sitting on the ladder, one win between you.
Oh yeah, everyone says that. It's a 4-point game. That's all it's worth at the end of the day. And of course, if Hawthorn happen to get up, then that puts them equal on wins with us on the table. And if we win it, yeah, we jump a little bit further ahead. But every game we play is important. I don't sit there and say to the boys, this is an 8-point game. It's a game we want to go out and win and continue our season on.
Just really quickly, Chris, I know you love your music. You two have announced their tour today. You'll be getting around that Suncorp in November?
I don't know whether I'll be in Brisbane in November. Sometimes I head off overseas, but yeah, I'd love to go and see that concert. Thanks for that question.